Hey everyone, welcome back. It's your girl Brie Undeniably, and you're tuned into my new speaker series, Deep Conversations with Dope Individuals, where we discuss development, decision making, and dedicating ourselves to authoring our purpose. So today I have a super dope individual who maybe we will get into how I know this individual later, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. We have Mike Vince, aka The Dean. Mike Vince, dubbed by others as The Dean, earned his name from his reputation, experience, philosophy, and passion for sharing knowledge and perspective with others. A New Jersey native, Mike Vince came from business before music, having built a successful 15-plus year career in professional services and robotic surgery. His entrepreneurial spirit, combined with an obsession for sound, resulted in his vision for the Syndicate. A self-taught producer, Mike's production style is highly technical, with the majority of his sounds carved from scratch using synths like Serum, Massive, Output, and Kontakt. His music has body, bounce, and drama, evoking a variety of emotions. The Dean provides the Syndicate's catalog with the versatile instrumentals built for hits, synchronization, and those smooth, wavy vibes.
Amen.
Mike, yes, welcome. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you, Brie. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, for real.
Absolutely. So the way I always start my episodes with my guests is in the counseling community, we try to meet our clients where they're at. That's just our way of saying, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
There you go. So, I'll keep this pretty brief. We'll go into more of this a little bit later on, but born and raised in Jersey, Northeast Jersey to be specific, Bergen County. I live in Morris County now. So I've always been within an hour of the city. My whole family's from the city, so this whole New York metro area has just been my backyard from day one. And, went to college up in Providence, in Rhode Island, which I know you're familiar with just from casual conversation. Yes. We'll get into that offline. But, that's where I'm from. Kind of born of a bloodline of entrepreneurs. Really the first person in my family to ever actually have a job and at least get a bachelor's. Mom and dad are completely different types of people, but again, they both started their businesses from scratch, did it exceptionally well. And, when you kind of grow up in a household where business is being spoken of 24/7, even when you're younger and you just don't care or it doesn't make sense, it does over time without you realizing it. Mm-hmm. So that's just a kind of a quick brief as to, type of family I kind of come from, where I'm actually from. But for me, what's most important is where I'm going. And more importantly, where we are going.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here to talk about too.
Mm-hmm.
I will kind of give you all a brief idea of how I had got in touch with Mike. We didn't know each other. We have gotten to know each other over the past little bit, but I had actually overheard a conversation he was having with someone else. And I said, hey, you got to connect me with that person.
Big nosy, super nosy.
So I was really, sticking my nose where I shouldn't have, but I heard him telling his story and I was like, he is exactly who I want to have on the podcast. You are everything you seem to be doing right now, and everything it seems that you have worked towards and are working in now embodies what I'm trying to do right now with the development, the decision making, dedicating yourself to your journey. So
no question, there's a match from a topic standpoint.
For sure.
And I'll get into this, but just how this all came to be, again, just from you overhearing a conversation, it's calculated, and I'll get into that. So,
hey,
yeah.
do you want to kick into it now, or should we kind of go down a different path?
I'll just say this, from a personal standpoint, which is also wound up being where all of my success and 15 plus years of complex sales businesses and not even talking about anything music related. I've always had an approach that I consider to be magnetic. I don't like to be the guy that's in your face all the time. Hey, look at me, attention whore, something, if you will, or just in your face too much. I've always demonstrated passion and sharing with certain people the ins and outs of what goes through my thought process at times. And just by talking about it when asked, and when people kind of see the passion behind this whole thing, instead of me doing outbound, types of activities to make things happen, I just let it come to me. And this is just a good example of, myself and Kay having a conversation that happened to be either on speakerphone. And, Kay has known me for 4 or 5 years when I didn't know really much of anything, when I just got started doing this. So here we are 4 some years later, I'm having a conversation with him and you heard
yeah.
what was going on. And you made your own determination to be like, yo, who can I get him on this thing? Like, what's up? Didn't ask you. I don't like to ask people much of anything. And but if they want to have anything to do with me, I'm going to give them a reason why without asking of anything. And when they come knocking on my door and they ring my doorbell with opportunity or potential opportunity, and it's just because I've been around and I see what you're doing. Like I want to be a part of it. My entire team is built off of that. I didn't go out and find a single person to do this with. It came to me.
It came to you.
And it just comes from just demonstrating just passion, dialed in, work hard, let people know how hard you're working though. In non-egotistical ways, it just winds up being magnetic.
Well, I love it. Like you're really speaking to what I would say like one of the core principles of passion is, and that is doing it for you. And when you do it for you, that magnetic force, like you're saying, that does happen because when you are doing something for you, your passion actually does speak for itself.
You're totally right. It's in media, in music, in film, or really any kind of media, it's just full of egos. And a vast majority of them are completely fluffed up. So for me, I've always felt that I've had a good instinct in calling cap on people when you're just overly you're trying to project too much. Just be you. Like stop. Like it really. I don't want to say that nothing else matters outside of you, because I mean it does. But I try not to let society or how I should be doing things or how I should look or how I should speak influence really anything. So sure. I've always kind of kept that near and dear, and I'm doing me. And if you want to be a part of that, and it's for the right reasons, then we can talk. So I'm just doing me, and it wound up bringing in some of the most important people in my life right now, just because they got to witness some certain things.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's talk about you doing you, because I know that there is, a really impactful story behind it that I know my listeners are going to really benefit from hearing. So,
I hope so.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I'm not much different than many people as far as my ambitions are concerned. So I think when people kind of hear where I came from and what led me to where we're at right now, that's where all the meat and potatoes are, in the story, because this is something that's relatable in music. I think it's relatable to anybody that's got ambitions to do anything different than what they're doing now. It just requires some guts, and some preparation. So I think we'll wind up talking about that quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, let's go and kind of start from the beginning. So you were in medical sales, right? For quite a while, and you had a pretty developed business there, or a pretty developed self in medical sales.
Yeah. So I've got a funny story as to how all that came to fruition. This always gets a rise out of people because this is dead ass.
Let's hear it.
So, when I was younger, like I said, being, raised by, entrepreneurs, believe it or not, that's not what they were pushing me to do. So they were not really putting me in a corner, but just naturally it was just like, Mike, you're a businessman. Like out the womb, like that's what it's going to be about in some way. And so, my father, who was in the manufacturing business, he took my parents' wedding money when they were 18, their high school sweethearts, and he bought 20 cutting tables in Patterson back when manufacturing was cranking. And he was the one that was making all the clothes that we're wearing. If you saw Made in the USA, which is rare these days, but if you see that, odds are he touched it somehow.
Wow.
So, he did that when he was 18 and, no college, and he busted his ass. And, it was kind of a dirty business. He's running around, Patterson, banging down people's doors that owe him money, for a living is kind of what it seemed like, to me. And he's like, I don't want that for you. I want you in a nice suit in a penthouse office, calling the shots. So he kind of always led me into that like corporate route.
He wanted you to climb the ladder, so to speak, rather than kind of get down and dirty and
exactly.
do it.
Because there's a lot of risk involved in being an entrepreneur, like to recommend to someone you should be an entrepreneur, first of all, no one should really be saying anything. When someone says to me, you should, a lot of times I'm turned off already because everybody's going to be a little bit different. Not everyone can withstand the pressure and anxiety that comes with being an entrepreneur. But
I think that's super important too. Just say, like, if anyone tells you should do something, you got to.
It's a trigger. It's a trigger for me because and people there's no malice, but it's said a lot. Like, bro, you should be doing that. You should be doing that. It's like, but you don't know me, so how the hell how are you going to say that? But anyway, long story short, I took that route, and so just to kind of keep this going a bit, my career progressed from being an enterprise rent-a-car manager, just like Step Brothers at the end, the most iconic scene ever when Will Ferrell's talking about enterprise and how you get the tools to be your own boss and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But it started that way because it's like, okay, well, I know enough about the company. I know there's growth. I'll go there. Had a good 4 years, moved up the ranks, realized that I don't like that retail. I didn't feel special. There was no fulfillment in renting cars. I was running a successful business, but it wasn't mine. I was working like a dog. I didn't think I was making enough money with the amount of output that I was doing. So I'm like, I need to start progressing towards entrepreneurship. So I moved from that style of business to a good 5-year span of basically just finance. So I worked at a big insurance brokerage for 4 or 5 years, just doing all sorts of risk management and investments. So again, it was me, but I was working for an agency. Mm-hmm. I built a book of business from zero to, a couple $1 million in, money under management, just from the ground up. I'm like, I can do this.
So you're kind of acquiring these skills as you were working in corporate, but
it's like it's an entrepreneurial, type of role, but you're back. Again, the salary was low, but this is a performance-based business where my money's going to be. This is more of a impact on my output. I put, this much out, I'm going to get this much back or more, whereas if I'm just on a salary, it's not so much. So that's really what kind of got me the taste of really being, solo and just being kind of like a self-driven entrepreneur without taking a full risk of not having benefits and stuff. So it kind of eased me in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But now here we go. It's like 4 or 5 years later. And now it's just, I'm like a paper pusher, I feel like. I'm sifting through papers. I'm in an office where you just, there's cubicles and, ugly brown suits all over the place. And this just wasn't really my style. But I was doing it because I was young. I was learning. I was growing. But this is where the funny part comes in. This is where I started to progress into medical. Okay. So my mother's side of the family, they're all scientists and engineers. My father is just, Italian immigrant that just built something with his hands. So, both sides are just so different. Greenwich, Connecticut versus Bronx. Mm-hmm. Very, very different types of parents there. So, I always had this, when it comes to creativity and science, things that are interesting, I always was lured into that. I was getting straight A's in science and like engineering style classes in school. And I was like not failing, but like D- in everything else. So, so I also realized in retrospect, I am very good at the things that I give a shit about. And I can't force myself to be good at something if I just don't care. That is why passion is so goddamn important.
I was going to say that's an important realization, especially to have, whenever you had it, that's like, it's something that we all almost don't want to recognize in ourselves, especially if we're in a place where we're doing something that we don't want to be doing. Yep. And we're trying to pretend that we're trying to be our best in it.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, if I could really break down a formula that kind of goes into how I've always thought about things, one thing that is always front and center, and it's a broad statement, but it's awareness. Most importantly, self-awareness before anything else. Because when you understand yourself and you know yourself and you're never questioning yourself and you know the truth that's within, even if it's not what you want to see or hear, the second you can own that, now it opens up the doors for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
So here we are, and I'll land this plane in a minute, but it's all relevant, right?
I'm happy to listen.
So it's all relevant, trust me. So this is where I entered into medical. So that's an industry where I was basically representing cutting edge surgical technology. Okay. Gaining support from surgeons that I need to be next to when I take this to the CEO, who's going to cut me the check to allow a medical device to be used in surgery. But it doesn't stop there. It's like once that's acquired, now I'm doing the surgeries with the doctors. So I lived in operating rooms for the last 8 years, and talk about egos. The only thing that has a bigger ego than, like, say, an artist, in music is a surgeon. And I've been dealing with that for, from the beginning.
Sheesh.
And I wound up getting into that just by sheer luck. Back at Enterprise, I picked up a young stud from like a Land Rover dealership who must have been like 26, dropped off a $100,000 Range Rover, buttoned up in a Canali suit, looked good, talked the talk. He was just magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I asked him, and I'm like, you need some help pulling something out of your trunk, put it in mine. And he gives me what really raised an eyebrow for me, a huge, 2 big ass butt cheeks with a gaping hole in the center, which we all know what that is. And now I'm starting to think, I'm like, is this guy like a porn star or something? What is this? What is happening? So now I'm driving him back, to the office to do the paperwork. And now I just dive in. I'm like, dude, what the hell did you just give me? What is that? I'm laughing about it. And this is what broke me in. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. I should have said, I work in medical devices. I sell devices and train surgeons on how to do transanal surgery.
Oh.
Because if I don't do this and they don't know how to perform this type of surgery, and if I don't teach them the right way, then you can be, you could have a colostomy bag for the rest of your life. The doctors that I sell this to, that I train on how to use this, is going to prevent the next people that he sees from that alternative. So I'm like, what?
So he gave you a transanal surgical trainer.
And go figure, I sold transanal stuff over the years. But yeah, so again, I was so confused. I didn't know that was even a role.
Wow.
I was like, I'm in sales. I'm like, but you're a doctor. No, I'm not. I'm just highly trained on surgery.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait, but you're in the surgeries with the doctors. He's like, yes, because I have to tell them what to do. I'm like, that's a thing? And I'm like, you clearly do pretty well. He's like, yeah, very well. So that was like the first year I was ever even in the workforce. I said, I want to do that. And it took 7 years of doing shit that I didn't want to do to build a strong enough sales resume to go to a medical company and say, there's nothing I can't do, and to demonstrate that. And finally, I got my break. And then over the last 7 years, I worked with big companies, but more recently, medical startups, to take medical devices from concept to commercialization and to build a fan base of surgeons throughout the Northeast of the country. And I'm doing surgeries with them.
Wow.
If I didn't pick that guy up at that Land Rover dealership and have that funny ass situation, I would have never known about this. And this was the biggest blessing for me, because this is what allowed me to make this move.
And it really was a conversation. Like,
it always starts with a conversation.
Starts with a conversation.
Yep.
Okay, so what I'm hearing right now, because for everyone listening, this isn't the exciting part.
No.
Not that it's not exciting, but
leads up to it.
Yeah, but this is actually the journey before the journey.
This is the prelude.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would you say, like, building up and kind of gaining all that experience, what has led you into the next steps? Is it something about that journey, that story?
Of course. So again, by going through all of that and busting ass and to get to where you think you want to go, we always think the grass is greener, right? And then you're playing in the grass and you're like, this ain't that great. It's sometimes it is, but sometimes you never know. So I don't have any regrets in medical, but here's basically where this all comes to, this is why it's all relevant. Mm-hmm. A lot of different types of industries, but in a similar capacity. Sales, growth. No company's got nothing unless they got a strong sales team. Mm-hmm. We are why you are working. So there's a lot of pressure on that. So I've been, in high pressure situations, and I've had to deal with that myself, my own ways over the years. But this is what triggered the move to go from lucrative medical career to leaving it all behind and starting this business, which is where the passion really has always been.
I'm going to be honest. When you said leaving it all behind, I feel like I felt the pit in my stomach.
Yeah.
So if everyone listening also feels that, I mean, this is why we're here having this conversation, because that leave it all behind, I'm sure at some point it might have, the thought of it left a pit in your stomach.
Every night.
Yeah.
So this is where it really comes to fruition. Okay, 8-year medical career. In those 8 years, I worked for 4 different companies, though. Here's the thing. Generally speaking, if you're in a sales position and you're making a lot of money, you have a very short rope to hang yourself with. And sometimes there's no rope. Sometimes you just get kicked into the pit like 300 for no reason. So I was always doing the right thing. Ethics and just my personal code is always front and center. It's good business or it's no business. Always stood true to that. If the expectation is 100, I'm going to give you 120 every time. So with every one of these companies, and this is not a brag, I've broken the records in every single one of them. I've got like a trophy room at the house that is now my studio.
That's incredible.
And I threw away the trophies because it doesn't matter. Because what wound up happening is 1 year I break the record, I set the expectation. I don't break the record again the next year. I hope I can curse. I'm dog shit.
You can.
So I was either forced out or let go of these very lucrative positions where I still relied on my earnings, to make money. So I went out and I did like Cornell courses on, medical business because I realized that none of the reps that I was working with understood really what was going on behind the closed doors of a business model in, say, a hospital. So let me demonstrate the ambition to my employers for longevity purposes. I'm going to come out of my own pocket and work with Cornell to take like a masterclass on what goes into decision-making for a hospital, for example. Just examples like that all day, but it all led me to the same place, forced out or fired.
Okay.
And after the third time, I'm now in my 30s, and it's like, when does it end? Mm-hmm. I'm like, hang on a second. I woke up. I said, this is the life that I was supposed to live, or I thought that I was supposed to live, but hang on a second. I missed the most important thing. I've got no fucking control. I do everything right, but I wind up still getting kicked to the curb every time. So It led me to not trust people. I battled with this stuff for a long time, and I said, I have to do something on my own. I knew I was always built to be an entrepreneur, but I had no reason to really go into that because everything was great. It took three ass kickings, if you will, for me to finally wake up and say, this ain't what life is. I'm letting someone else dictate. It's fight or flight every day. I feel like I had to literally justify why I should be employed here for like 7 years every day. And so, when you're a musician like me, it's always kind of like a side hobby, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, if a weekend goes by and I'm living the life that I want to live, I'm recording people in the studio, I'm cooking up music and, making some scratch on that from the side, and I'm listening to my music on the radio and stuff. Like, it's just the most amazing feeling. But every Sunday night, right on time, 6 o'clock, I would get those Sunday scaries, that feeling of dread, pure, utter dread. Because now it's like, oh my God, I have to forget about all that for a minute, wake up tomorrow morning and just go do things that I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
And odds are it's going to lead me to the same place. So it's like, it's just a really crappy feeling. And one of the best feelings that I've ever had in my life was about 2 months ago when this business was being launched, which is still not till November, and by the way, it's a production company, a music production company. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we will definitely talk more about it.
But I thought about it and I said, okay, be in this moment for a minute. And like, I felt dread again, just like every Sunday. I'm like, this feeling is just awful. But instead of just dealing with it, I said to myself one day, I said, remember what this feels like. And remember what you've been building for the last 5 years. I've been slowly but surely building this business for years. And I said, in the near term, this feeling is going to be swapped out with utter excitement.
I love that.
And that right there, I had a reminder on my phone for 2 years, every Sunday at 6 o'clock. It says, remember this feeling. Because it was so repetitive. It was every Sunday, like 6 o'clock on the dot. It's like, oh God.
I'm not kidding. You just gave me chills because I definitely can relate. I know so many people can relate, but like, just remember this feeling. We all know what this feeling is.
We all do. For me, it was wanting to pursue music full time and make my money that way and to live that life because it brings me true, utter joy. There's nothing that I would rather do in this world than make music with musicians that I respect and like and to grow together. That's what the perfect world for me looks like. And it's not unreasonable.
Yeah,
any
absolutely.
musician, that is what the goal is for damn near every musician you ever speak to. Getting to that point is very difficult, to the point where you can actually feed your family or live one hell of a life from your music. It's not easy, but I've been building it for so long. And I just said, this is what the drive is. This feeling that I get every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Just be in it, bask in it, in its misery. Because this is why you're working so hard. So you never have to feel this way.
Right.
Again. And being an entrepreneur, there's even more pressure, but it's the pressure that I embrace.
Right.
That's not bad to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No,
with the whole world on my shoulders, I want that, because that I can never point a finger at anyone else but myself.
Well, it comes back to that piece of control that you were saying. Like when you were working for someone else, essentially, you didn't have control. And that feeling that you would feel on Sunday night, it was a feeling of losing control again to the rest of the week. And then you get to regain your control on Friday and do what you love in music.
Yeah. And when there's that much contrast in your life, you know, it's funny when people ask me like what my day-to-days looked like how did you become a nasty, well, other people saying I'm a nasty producer. How did you do that when you were working like that? So in between surgeries, I would find an empty conference room and I would make beats and close the door with my scrubs on. When my wife goes to bed, I say, I'll see you in the morning. And I stay up for another 4 hours and get it done. So it felt like I was working 20-something hour days, but that's what fed me. My life came from that. Like my energy came from doing things that I love. And I'm like, assuming that we only have one life, and I'm not trying to spend the first 65 years of it doing shit that I don't want to do anymore. I'm done, because that's not, I didn't sign up for that. And I don't think anybody should ever do that. So it all goes back to the awareness piece. What do you love? Where is your passion? Because if you solidify that and you just dedicate yourself to finding a way, because there is a way in every situation. I'm entering a very competitive market, but I'm not worried about it.
Right.
Because I've dedicated so much time to preparing for this, for this moment, and just shoveling myself through the mud, for 15-something years to finally be able to say 2 weeks ago, I left it all behind. I'm the full-time CEO of the six borough production group, AKA the Syndicate. And I got a team of 7 guys underneath me that are taking this ride with me. And I've got goals to literally have thousands of producers and artists around the globe working with me. And it all starts now. I
mean, I know I'm not the first, but I have to congratulate you, because truly what you're saying, absolutely, you're inspiring. You're inspiring so many people. And, if everyone is really listening, this is not easy. And that's not what Mike is saying for sure. He's saying this is damn challenging, and you were filling in every moment you could to make sure that you could get out of where you didn't want to be and get into exactly where you wanted to be.
Yep. And I think in order to transition that way and to do it the right way and to just mediate the risk of taking this kind of dive, I've, just before I came over here, I was thinking and just kind of like, going back in time and thinking about key moments, in my life that kind of allowed me to prepare, the right way. And I think, because it's a lot, but I can kind of summarize and share some gems that worked for me.
Yes, please.
Because this is overcoming obstacles that every musician or anybody with these types of aspirations are going to go through. Everyone's got a great idea, but how does that idea become a reality? That's where it's difficult. So I'll share with you a couple things. I think now's a good time to probably go into the philosophy a little bit and the methods.
Absolutely.
Right. So first is going to be more of a mental, situation. What's the type of mindset? What are things that sometimes you have to force yourself to become habitual with? And I mentioned before, it's awareness.
For sure.
And in retrospect, this is why it's so important. Awareness is a broad statement, but to simplify it, very self-aware. What are you good at? What are you bad at? Be honest with yourself. Okay.
What makes you tick?
What brings me joy? What makes me miserable?
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
You got to get into all those dark corners.
It is what it is. So there's a very big self-discovery component to I think making bold moves. Mm-hmm. You really have to understand yourself. Once you have that, now you have to understand the playing field that you're trying to enter into. What does the competition look like? What's usual and customary? How does everyone else do it? And if they go this way, I'm going that way. Because doing something that someone else has already done, the only way that you're going to win is if you do it better, which you can do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Real estate's real estate. What makes a better realtor, from one guy to the next guy is, I don't know the answers to that, but they figured it out.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be the same as the unsuccessful one. It's going to be different.
But sometimes it's also a fresh perspective,
Totally.
a new person just coming into the field and with that hunger to do it and to get after it and to be the best or whatever goal you have set for you in the field. Sometimes, you're working against people who have been in it for so long that
Totally.
You are the new perspective. You are actually the key. There's no other skill that you need. It's you.
Yep. Being disruptive is a good thing.
Yep.
And if you're in business, you already know that.
Yeah.
But it could be a similar direction, but you just take a different turn at some point that makes you stand out and you're kind of in your own lane. So anyway, but that's all in awareness. Competition, the field that you're looking to enter into, most importantly, yourself, and also be aware of the people you're working with. My model is similar to a lot of successful entrepreneurs. It's people over product and it's quality over quantity. That combination right there is everything. I tell my team all the time, get used to saying no, because when you do that, you're being selective and you're being smart. There could be a million people that line up to get involved in what you're doing. You're not going to pick them all up.
Right.
Pick up the diamonds in the rough.
Right.
So like I said, that awareness piece is huge. Pay attention.
For sure.
To things that maybe you normally wouldn't pay attention to. Be woke, stay woke, however you want to put it. Just really, take it in. Really
stay clued into yourself and to the industry.
Yep, exactly. And so now, again, you've looked at the landscape that you're in. This is what everyone else is doing. I can't go that way.
Right.
I have to go this way.
Got it.
How can I do that? This is where the experience comes in. Mm-hmm. So I built, this business model based off of things that really have nothing to do with music. And it's what I've done in the past, for the most part. Real estate, agencies, financial services, insurance, like whatever it is. And the business is built that way, where it's built to scale and it's only going to move with the right people.
Yep.
So, that is kind of unique in this realm. I won't go into the details as to why, but it's against the grain, somewhat disruptive.
Yep.
So I'm already off to a good start. I've got a couple haters, which is a good thing. That means I'm doing something right.
Absolutely.
Some people called me crazy and I said, yes, good. Thank you.
Perfect.
And I guess really where the decision to take a dive into something that's risky, the one that's most relevant to that is your preparation.
Okay.
That's everything. It's also mixed with passion. Your preparation is going to be so much more proper when you've got some major, major passion driving that. Because it doesn't feel like work. There's days that go by, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to close the laptop. It's 2 a.m. I got something to do. I just want to keep going. Not because I've just got great work ethic. My passion doesn't want me to stop.
Right.
So when you mix passion with, discipline, that goes into your planning. Mm-hmm. I posted something like about this on an IG story not that long ago. and said, this becomes a much easier decision for you with preparation. It doesn't feel like you're taking a dive into the unknown or you're taking this big, crazy risk if you're prepared. Yeah. If you prepare yourself in a way that there's nothing that you can't handle, nothing could happen that's going to bury you. What's the worst case scenario? If it's like, if you didn't die, then you're good. Right. Don't worry about it.
Made you stronger. Yeah.
It's like those funny ass Medea movies, like the uncle. You know, I was watching that last night with my wife. His son is all mad. He's like, you threw me off a roof to teach me a lesson when I was younger. He's like, well, did you die though?
Yeah. You're still here, aren't you?
Yeah. You just don't, if that's the worst case scenario, don't do it. But again, it's never the case. Prepare. And again, it's discipline, it's passion and dedication and don't rush things.
Right.
Like you just continue on that course. Like you'll know when it's time to launch. You know when it's time to go. But you're never gonna get there unless you feel prepared. It's like having a kid. I don't have kids, but everybody that I know that has one is like, bro, you're never ready. It's never the perfect time.
Right.
You just have to be as ready as you can be.
Right.
In this situation is, somewhat similar, but it's different. Like you are ready at a certain point.
Well, I mean, diving into the unknown is half of the excitement of it. That's if you're going into the unknown, you're going into a territory that you get to chart because it's uncharted.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. It kind of gives you autonomy to do what you want, but it takes away that piece of you trying to follow in someone else's footsteps.
It's Frank Sinatra. I did it my way.
That's it.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's the motto. I'm doing it my way. I know it's a bit different. Most importantly, though, I know what's most important is the people. And I've always been a good judgment of character, got good people around me. When you've got the right people around you, they bring in good people too. Because good people don't hang with bad people.
For sure.
If they do, they're not bringing them to you.
I hope not.
They're not. Trust me, they're not. Yeah. But it can kind of be looked at that simply, for me. It's just like, dude, I've got this whole business plan mapped out for the next 10 years, but I'm not thinking about that. My priority right now is to build a team of the right people. And if that takes me longer than I want, so be it. Patience.
Okay, so I have a few questions. We touch on a lot of points there, and I think you really nailed it, especially with what has worked for you, and I think is going to be applicable to so many people who are listening. And I think as far as we have some guests in the room, we're happy to welcome them here.
What's up?
Swallow the water in the wrong way.
Yeah, good way to make an entrance.
We will. It's all part of the process. So we're happy to have you guys here. So I think, and maybe you can tell me more, but I think with the preparation piece, you kind of let us know you were staying up late nights, doing weekends, and that was the preparation piece. I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into the self-awareness piece.
Hell yeah.
I think that is really, that might be the ugliest place for us to all look for ourselves and for me to ask you to explain, but I think you're ready maybe to explain it for us.
I got something for you on that, for sure. So, yeah, it's the foundation of everything is the awareness, self-awareness, self-truth. And sometimes it's one night, you just focus and you just, meditate, do whatever the hell it takes.
Right.
Go do, ayahuasca trip, with a shaman if you want, whatever.
Whatever.
I didn't do any of that. I just thought about it. It went all the way back to the beginning when I was a kid. I had an ADD diagnosis when I was younger. My parents thought there was something wrong with me because I just didn't give a shit about a lot of things that were going on.
Yeah.
I was shy. I wasn't really out of the shell. So it looked to them that, I've got anxiety problems or something. They didn't know.
Gotcha.
Child psychologists, and they're just like, dude, there's nothing wrong with him. He's ADD. Well, what the hell is that? They're like,
right.
What's wrong with my son? There's a couple different types of it, but I'm not the ADHD. I'm all over the place. I hyper-focus.
Okay.
And I shut everything else out. And that's kind of why when I sat back and I said, wow, you know what? I really suck at things that I don't care about. But I am excellent. And that I don't brag much, but I body shit that I like, that I actually care about, better than most. And so that's why, does that make me diverse? Absolutely not. But does that make me pretty lethal in the things that I choose to do? 100%. So it's really knowing that and accepting it and understanding that that's okay.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with you. If I'm only good at one thing in my life, what is that one thing that I should be doing? It's that one thing. Because I'm going to do it better.
Hands down.
That's it. You don't have to please everybody. It's impossible. Please, just understand yourself. Allow yourself, put yourself in the best position to win by doing something that you love. Because like I said, we live once as far as I'm concerned. And I ain't got time to be doing stuff that I want to do anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a good example. It's I was kind of born, being told that I'm at a disadvantage.
Right.
It wound up being a gift.
Right. Absolutely.
And thinking about that and just reflecting on that and making sense of that is just one example of self-discovery. It's okay to not be good at everything. And if you're doing something that you're not good at and you're not feeling fulfilled, it's time for you to start looking into yourself to find out what do you want to do.
Right. Well, I think like what you're nailing is so important, that like you took what you knew or learned about yourself and you spun it so that no one else could take it back from you.
Yep.
You took exactly what, the cards that you were dealt, and you use them 100% to your advantage. So no matter what kind of way any doctor, family member, whoever said this is a disadvantage, you said, not in my case.
Listen, I'm telling you, the most successful business people, were growing with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
You talk to, you watch enough Shark Tank in your life, or you listen to enough, podcasts, or just study successful people. It all kind of goes into my favorite book called Grit. Are you familiar with Grit?
I am familiar with Grit.
Grit's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's my favorite style of self-help book, if you want to call it that, because it's all factual. There's no opinions in that shit. And it's the people that are running countries, or successful CEOs, or just, tyrant businessmen were not born with the ability to do it. They earn that shit. And a lot of times it's because people told them they couldn't do it. My brother-in-law, perfect example. We don't have to go into it, but, he is out of control. His whole life was told he can't do anything, and is by far and away the most successful early 30s person I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like honored to call him my brother-in-law. But this self-honesty concept really came very real with me. And my wife influenced this because, just as an example, like on our first date, she just showed me all of her cards off the bat. She goes, so here's why I suck sometimes. I'm a smoker. I don't want kids. I work like a dog. I'm a businesswoman. So I'm really not that emotional. It's the most self-honest and self-aware person I've ever met in my life. And right then and there, she trimmed the fat off. Yeah. Let's not waste each other's time. This is why I suck in my eyes. And it's up to you to determine if you like everything else. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, yo, I like that.
Yeah. She sounds awesome. I have not met her yet, but she sounds incredible. Shout out to her.
Yeah, she definitely helped me open up my mind a little bit and to kind of take that similar approach, just to be like, dude, like, you never really fronted on anything. There's no cap in your life, but like take a step back for a second. If you can't understand yourself more than anybody else, you gotta, bro, like it's you first and then go help other people. How are you gonna help other people if you can't help yourself?
Yeah, that is spot on. I mean, at the end of the day, really what we're talking about is own your shit.
Yeah, man. Take ownership in your life, bro. Like no one is coming to save you.
Right.
And even if there's a point to this statement right here, which is going to help a lot of ambitious entrepreneurs, and especially anybody in music, by the way. Oh man, I was about to get right into the point. I kind of forgot the one I was going to say beforehand.
That's all right.
But yeah, I digress on that.
That's okay.
It's, that self-awareness piece is huge. It's huge.
It's major. Well, I want to we have about maybe 15 minutes left. Let's talk about the music. Let's get into where you're at now. I mean, we just did the past 45 minutes on how you got there. You're here now. Let's let everyone know about like that feeling that you now have daily that you created for yourself. Let's bring it full circle.
For sure. Okay. Yeah. So, I was a drummer my entire life.
Okay.
4 years old, my dad got me a drum set, when I was like, this tall, and, could not rip me off it. So remember that ADD thing I was talking about? You can't get me away from something I'm locked into.
Super focused.
Drumming for like 8 hours a day, just shredding drum sets my entire life. And, went to college, and now all of a sudden it's social time. It's a party. I'm learning. I'm making friends. I'm having a good time. It's just no different than most, no Ivy League stuff, but, took a lot away from, going to school. Came back and it's just like, you just started the corporate career. I tried making music when I was in college, but I quickly realized I'm like, this is not what I thought it was. It's computer coding. If you're going to do it the right way, it is not just pressing buttons and notes magically just come out and it sounds good.
Right.
There's so much that goes into being a dope musician, let alone a producer who is, these days, it's everything. We're instrumentalists. We're not playing guitar. I'm performing guitar on a piece of hardware that sounds like a guitar.
It's pretty incredible
how do you make that sound good and blah, blah, blah. So, this is where it all kind of started as dope. After I was let go from one of my companies, I saw an IG ad for something called the iMachine. It's from a company called Native Instruments, one of the biggest music production hardware companies. And it was an app for $5, and it's a beat making app.
Okay.
It's shit that I always wanted to do, but when I tried, I'm like, I ain't got time for this. I'm just going to go and try and party and have a good time. I can't dedicate myself to this.
Right.
But I found some time.
I was just going to say, point out the time piece, because that might be the biggest excuse that we sell ourselves when we're not ready to jump into ourselves.
Because my priorities weren't a lot. My priorities now are very different than they were 10, 15 years ago. That's for damn sure.
Absolutely. I
think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
But I grew up, and my brain allowed me to take deeper dives into things because I became more curious, because I lived more. I was living. 28 years of life allowed me to be curious about certain things, And
we need that experience too. We need that life experience. It's going to happen.
That's why I always say, just pay attention.
Yeah.
Be in the moment. Mm-hmm. Take it in the best you can. So here we go. $5 app, a beat making app that was super easy to use. Bro, I still use it. If I grab my phone right there and press play, I got like 30 beats
on
there that I did 4 or 5 years ago. They suck, but this is where it all started.
Right. That
IG ad, $5, spent the $5, and I didn't sleep for 4 days. I was glued to it, going crazy, just making music. And it was that soon that I'm like, yeah, I'm going all in on this. About a week later, I went to Guitar Center and dropped $12,000 and built a studio in my house. Didn't even know what I was doing yet. I looked at some YouTube videos, had some idea on how to build it. Rushed into that. I definitely rushed into that, but that was, again, passion driving it. It put me in a position where I'm pot committed already. I'm all in. I got no choice but to be nice with this.
You got to do it. You bought the equipment. You really went full force.
People are just like, what are you doing? Like, what? But it's just like, I'm like, watch what I do with this shit though. And so quickly, I feel like I was in a cave for 2 years. I locked in. I blacked out for 2 years.
Wow.
Meaning the way I learn, I don't compare myself to anybody. I learn my way and I do things my way. And I came out of my dungeon, my studio cave, never released a goddamn thing. 2 years later, just sharpening my sword every single day until I felt my music was good enough to not make someone's ears bleed. And I came out and I was better than people that were doing this for like 10 years. And that's not me saying that. That's them saying it.
This is what, you have heard plenty of feedback at this point. You know your stuff is good. I know your stuff is good.
It's like the imagination is there. Yeah. It's different. You have a sound that you've developed already. Mm-hmm. That's really what really shot the steroids into the ambition. Once, that's not coming from regular people. That's coming from people that know what the hell they're talking about in the business. So I said, okay, I'm ready. And I'm only going to get better from here. Squat up. So I called one of my good friends who was a DJ for 10-something years. We used to be in the insurance business together. He moved to LA.
Okay.
And this is 2 years ago. He moved to LA, and he's doing the same thing I am. He's trying to transition into a music career as a producer. We're both, we're not connected. We know nobody yet. That was literally the only person I knew at the time that was like, dude, you want to team up on this thing? Let me just share with you the vision. And I shared this big conceptual idea with him that is now very real. And he was like, holy shit, what do you need from me? And I'm like, just follow my lead. So shout out to Smitty out in LA. That was about 2 years ago. We solidified a partnership together and started to kind of combine forces with the concept of you want to go fast, you go alone. You want to go far, you go together. That was the first.
Chills.
The sooner that you realize that as an entrepreneur or as a musician, the sooner you'll stop wasting your time.
Yeah.
I learned the very hard way. I got to do all the artwork, all the mixing, all the mastering, all the songwriting, all the production, all the stem bouncing, all the catalog management, all the marketing, all the content myself. Without using Fiverr or anything to outsource, I had to learn how to do everything by myself. I'm like, I have reached my max capacity.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to scale this business. Me individually, no concerns. Business, I can't scale this alone. I cannot do it. So now that started the hunt for the right people. So Smitty out in LA was my first partner. Third guy came in shortly after. His name's Holly Boogs. He's an engineer. Shout out to Holly Boogs and out there in West New York. That came on board. He's been doing this for 15 years. He let me hang out in studio sessions, observe, pick up on things, how to move, how to act, blah, blah, blah. Kept growing. And then the biggest break came probably about 3 or 4 months ago, where one of my best friends of 20-something years, who was my high school quarterback at Bergen, little bitch ass transferred out, a couple years later. But either way, somebody that I always have respect for. We were both growing professionally at a similar clip in completely different industries over the years, and we always chopped it up with each other. He was an actor, he was a model. He had this love for the arts, just like I always did, but was making his money and having his success in business. And we sat down one day, and he always asked me the best questions, deep ones. Mm-hmm. What, like you're asking, what went into that mindset when you made that decision? Right. And I'm like, where's he going with this? And then he hit me. He's like, what's it going to take for you to take this all the way and to go full time? We established what that was. Handshake. And that was about 3 months ago. And realistically, probably early November, it'll be finalized. And the new business is built.
Amazing.
And the gem is this. And I'll leave it with this. This, I think, is huge for musicians and entrepreneurs. It's not always about the money, but if you're trying to build a business, good luck doing it if you're broke. You need capital. You need investors. Okay. You need to have a strong business plan to show that fruitful yellow brick road, down the road and to demonstrate. And some people will go out and book these meetings to have those types of pitches. This is where the magnetic thing comes in. I didn't ask for it.
Full circle.
Didn't ask for it. He knew me. He knows how I work. He knows my morals are. He knows my code. And he was my first fan. And never, ever did I ever expect for him to be what allowed me to make that transition easier. But it happened. And it makes so much sense. So here's the lesson is if you are ready, but there's one component to your plan that is lacking, it's going to make the path difficult and muddy or to make it take longer than you want it to. This is where having individual fans, not just music is, fans are a thing that's in music and sports and stuff, but you can have fans as an individual. They're called friends. Move acquaintances to friendships. Because when you are just demonstrating your passion, these are the people that want to help you. And if you ask them to do something, they're going to do it every time, but they're going to help you even when you don't ask for it. Right. A lot of people became famous and were broken as musicians. Nick Paps, for example, one of my favorite producers, he made a Meek Mill type beat. One of his fans tagged Meek Mill's manager in the beat, and he signed with Meek Mill 6 months later. And the kid is a fucking stud.
That's how it happens.
Killing it.
Oh my gosh.
He was Dream Chaser's first producer signing. Signed a record label as a producer. His fans got him there.
Wow.
So this is what I mean. Build an organic fan base the right way. Because what it's going to do is those different layers that Kevin Bacon situation.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Think about this for a sec, right? Let's just say that if my dream is I want to, be like, I don't know, signed to like Rock Nation, for example. And I want my group to be involved with Rock Nation somehow. I know someone that can make that happen for me in some way, shape, or form. Immediate connection, maybe 3 or 4 layers down the road. But when you start to build your fan base and there's more eyes on you and for the right reasons, the help that you need will come. You know what I'm saying? It's like this came up from a friend that has been a fan of mine and watched my progression and related to it and came to me with an opportunity. And he still looks at it like it's his opportunity, not mine, which it's the other way. I mean, this changes me, but it's going to change for him too, because I'm going to pay that shit forward. In music, the person that you want to get to is closer than you think. Mm-hmm. Just move correctly, be a good person, be true, be honest, because you're going to start to build this network of people around you, whether you know it or not, that are loving what you're doing. And they're either going to come ring your doorbell in time with the help that you need, this is, again, all without asking, or they're going to go introduce you to the next layer and then the next layer. A lot of people say, oh, he had success because he knows somebody. Yeah, maybe that's true, but that person that he knew respected him first.
Right.
That's what got him there. The relationship, it was just the connection, but the individual did an excellent job of demonstrating professionalism and real deal shit that gave that person the confidence to put his name on you and forward you to the person that changed your life.
Right. You're not going to get the cosign if you're not liked by the person.
Get co-signed by the people that you need to be co-signed for, and don't go trying to do it. Just be true to yourself. Yes, there's some social media techniques involved in getting your message across, but that's the gem. Everyone always comes to me, man, like I'm right there, but I need this. I'm right there, but I need that. Well, what's preventing you from doing that? I just don't know anybody that can help me. What is it? It's capital. I need $20,000 to shoot a music video. I'm like, if you don't think that there's somebody in your network, either directly or right behind them, that wants to give you that $20,000 because they always wanted to do what you're doing, they just never knew how to do it, and they didn't know that you were doing it. Dude, guys, those people are there.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to a bank to get bankrolled. Like, you don't have to go to a label to get exposure. Right. You don't have to sign a distribution deal to get distribution. Whatever it is, it's just the help is there. Just allow your fans to make that a reality for you.
Your people are your power.
It's everything. That's why I always said people first.
People first. I think that, you have hit so many incredible points, Mike. I mean, I wish we could continue talking. I know we have to wrap it up.
We will. Chapter 2 next month or something.
Yep. It's coming up. Don't worry. I mean, I know what the feedback I'll get from this, you 100%. I hope that we can do another episode together.
Of course. You got the number. I answer every time. Absolutely.
I know. And we've had some good conversations both on camera and off. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Seriously. All right. So now's the time. Famous last words, and let everyone know where they can find you.
Mike Vince the Dean on Instagram with periods in between. Mike.Vince.the.Dean on Instagram. SyndicateSounds.com is the website. Tap in. Well, depending on when this is released, we might be live, maybe not. Tap in. If you're a musician, if you're in the music business, you're a producer, you have aspirations, we have a place for everybody in here. So just if you're watching this, if you're listening, get in touch.
Absolutely. Mike, thank you again.
Thank
everyone.
You,
Mike Vincedine, you are tuned into Breathe Undeniably, my speaker series, deep conversations with dope individuals. Thank you again.
Salute, everybody.